It's easy to be unclear, but to have high expectations. It's the opposite. It's very difficult to be clear, but it's easy to have high expectations. So reverse that. So have lower expectations, higher of yourself, less of others, and be crystal clear in the expectation. Jim Robinson here. Welcome to another show, Visionary Leader. Today we're talking about leading without pressure. Should be easy today. Let's go. You know, that top-down pressure, I didn't learn that until I actually got in business. That's kind of crazy, I think, to think about that. But that wasn't something I had. I wasn't around the corporate structure growing up. I only knew relationships. And I knew how to develop them. I knew how to get into a relationship. I also knew when to separate from a relationship because we traveled quite frequently as a kid. And so for me, business around relationships it's at our core. And it's one of our core values is that relationships matter. And so that the top down thing, I had to learn those behaviors during business in my journey of 40 plus years. I figured that out pretty quick, that people responded to fear or were even counting on fear at some level. And when I wouldn't give it, I was just trying to be close and develop relationships. It kind of weirded people out. Even to this day, people appreciate how we lead because we don't go for fear. We can see they have fear, and we certainly try to get rid of that. But yeah, top-down pressure was never part of it. How did the definition of leadership change as my business grew? It's kind of crazy, but definition of leadership was really, I just thought you're an owner or you're a manager. And I didn't, years ago, 40 plus years ago, leadership was kind of a rare word, actually. It really has only surfaced over, I'd say, the last 30. And then we went kind of crazy and we just said everybody's a leader. Depends on everybody's a leader. And so I took that back and I just said, leaders are really, really more about impact, influence for the betterment of the individual, the buyer, the business, etc. And so leadership to me really developed over time saying, whoa, I have a responsibility as a leader to to lead things, literally change things. And so it really did develop. I literally thought there was a business owner and they were managers. And now I have a very different perspective on all of that. But I'm no longer an owner. I have a responsibility to lead, and that's based on influence and impact. Leaders unintentionally creating pressure cultures without realizing it. Wow, you set examples and they follow you. And as leaders, even first responders, political figures, all of those people, I'll put up air quotes for that, but they're in leadership roles. People follow them. And people will mimic behaviors. And creating pressure cultures could be as simple as working 15 hours a day and having the expectations of that for your team. That's a pressure point, and they will feel compelled to do that, even though it doesn't align well, and they probably aren't as effective after 8 or 9 hours. So really creating that pressure is really, you're doing that by example. The long hours, moving the goalpost, they're about to achieve something, and then the owner will say, geez, it should be bigger, better, more exciting than ever, and the world changed, and so we got to change. Moving the goalpost and never actually stopping to win is really a pressure. That's a pressure culture for a lot of people, and it's tough. People don't survive well in that. What role does empathy play when performance expectations are high? One, it's relatable. It's being validating, being interested in, being very attentive to. That's the empathy part of that. Performance expectations have to be crystal clear. Dave Ramsey says to be unclear is to be unkind. And that has resonated with me since I've met him 14 years ago. That's carried through for me because I recognize that it's easy to be unclear, but to have high expectations. It's the opposite. It's very difficult to be clear, but it's easy to have high expectations. So reverse that. So have lower expectations, higher of yourself, less of others, and be crystal clear in the expectations. So here's how we get to A, and we call it 5 to thrive, and management level and above, we call it 10 to win. But we set clear expectations. And if you get that in 5 or 6 hours, go home, go do whatever it is you do, spend time with family, etc. But set clear expectations. Performance expectations with clarity will help your company win 100% of the time. Moments where leading with care felt risky. That is a great question. I think vulnerability is always feels risky. But authenticity, it's funny. I did a wordsmithing thing for myself last week, actually. And authenticity is one of my top core values is being genuine and real. And it does feel risky sometimes in some situations, but you got to lead through that. So being able to lead where it feels a little risky, I think if you're not at that edge of that risky part, you're really not truly leading. I think you got to be on that edge. I say if you're not on the edge, you're taking up too much real estate, but it's literally you got to be on the edge. You have to be. It's building something others don't yet know or may not even have the vision of. You literally got to be on that edge. So take that risk. Be risky in your leadership. You got to push the envelope, not to the point of fear, of course, but make sure you push in a little bit of discomfort there because that's the biggest change. How do you coach leaders to earn trust rather than demand results? That's a holy buckets. That seems like a really old question to me, actually. Coaching leaders to earn trust. One, it's truly examples. And today, I think in being empathetic to others, how much they're going through at any given day. I mean, you pass somebody, they didn't use their signal and you're mad at them or whatever the case may be. You have no idea what they're going through. But if you just stop for a minute, you may be able to align with them. And their action on the road will have way less impact on you. It's literally being empathetic. It's being relatable. It's trying to figure out what they have going on in their mind, maybe in their day, their dog died, the child's sick. You don't know. And I think that will build and develop trust. And authenticity develops trust. Giving back develops trust. When your team sees that you care about others and you're passionate about that, and you're supporting and serving other people, that develops trust. You can demand results today. Good luck. Good luck. That's just a crappy manager. That's not a leader at all. Habits that help leaders stay relational under stress. We call them rituals. And we say that what is your rituals in the morning? Because typically leaders tend to have a very fixed schedule and then they respond to urgent matters later in their day. But in a fixed schedule, mine starts at 4 a.m. And it literally is so methodical, so regimented. It's the walks, it's the reading, it's the meditation time. Those types of habits, habitual things that we do, we call them rituals and we spell that differently. We spell it RICH, not RITCH, because they will make you rich in health, rich in connection, rich in connectivity to others or bigger picture. It also helps you connect to your vision, your next thing, your goal. It's literally having those rituals each day that keeps you focused. Stress for leaders is pretty minimal for the most part, as at least how I see it, and people I get to coach. It's they don't really truly experience the stress, but they experience the empathetic feeling of, wow, this person's under some pretty intense pressure or stress, and that becomes relatable. But I think the leaders themselves manage it very differently. Help teams feel seen without lowering standards. Not those are two really not related, in my guess. Having people feel seen is celebrating them for their wins, big, little, otherwise. We give people a day off they have a birthday. We celebrate them the day before. They get the day off with pay. It's really making people feel seen for their moments, not yours, but for their moments and celebrating them on a regular basis. It's not about lowering standards. And quite frankly, it's probably about raising standards. If you don't, most leaders, I say most, I say that kind of loosely, but most leaders don't inherently just celebrate people. They tend to not slow down enough to smell the roses, as the phrase goes. They tend to just be super go hyper oriented. And it takes a little while to mature into a role that helps you get laser focused on celebrating the people in the moment. It takes a little while. It's not overnight. And so leaders really have to get focused on that, but it doesn't lower standards. If anything, I think it raises standards because it raises the bar for others to see how you celebrate people and acknowledge them so they feel seen. What does success look like when people truly come first? Wow. Businesses that we do, that we serve, is one, they celebrate. In some cases, they celebrate our team members. And I remember one of the first times we had Starbucks coffee invite us to a celebration, an internal celebration, which they haven't since given this award out, but it's an internal award for their own team members. And they call them partners, by the way. They don't call them employees or team members. They call them partners. And they invited one of our team members to go, and they gave him a plaque, made a little speech for him. And that's truly putting people first. That's really in one of those moments of success that he was acknowledged for his excellence. And we actually set an SLA standard, and that's why he was acknowledged and accredited for that. If you look at coaching, if you watch the Super Bowl even this weekend, the team got the credit for the win, and the coach got the credit for the loss. And that's really when people come first. The team, all of them, got the award. They won the trophy. They won the Super Bowl. The coach on the other side got all the grief. The team didn't. They got hugs, high fives. Hey, you did what you could. You did an amazing job out there. Just didn't win. You didn't get the W, but you did work your tail off. On the other hand, the coach got chastised, ripped apart, torn up. So the success, you see it in people. You see it in different verticals, different businesses, but acknowledging people and celebrating people in total. Give away the wins. Take responsibility for the damage. Leading without pressure, man. Forget the pressure. You take that home with you. Do what you want with that. Pressure is no good today. It isn't working today. Today, you've got to talk about growth and what's next. The law of anticipation is critical in today's leadership. Your team needs to know what's next. If they don't know where they're going by Friday or by next month or 2 months from today, they're going to struggle. I wrote a piece recently, and it's called The Health of the Company. And for years, I wrote this article. It's called in Sickness and in Health. It's a chapter in one of the books. And it talks about when your employees are going to be sick, why they're going to be sick, and what day of the week they're actually going to be sick, because I really paid attention to this. And as of recent, I even told my CFO recently, I just said, it's the health of the business, not the health of the individual. It's the health of the business that's creating the hardship, the pain, and the health challenges for the individual, because when you create some fear, they're going to be sick. If you create some lack of clarity or the lack of anticipation, where are they going? If they don't know, sickness is super easy to have. It creeps in. And we're creating that as business owners. We're creating sickness on them, and it's legit sicknesses. They develop sicknesses because of lack of health of our own companies. Make sure you have a healthy company. Be crystal clear on where the team is supposed to be going, where the company is going, and then make sure they're crystal clear on what's on the schedule. Where are they heading next? Power of anticipation.